Hey guys, welcome back to the Dirt School podcast. I appreciate you joining me today. I've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. I have personally been excited about talking to this guy for a long time, ever since I started tinkering around a little bit more with recurve, archery gear, Tradbows, things of that nature. I've been wanting to talk to these guys because they seem to have it together when it comes to woodsmanship and actually just knowing how to read the sign, hunt the terrain, and things like that. And so I've been more intrigued by all of that over the last couple of years instead of just throwing a corn pile out and sitting there and waiting on deer, but just to learn to be a better woodsman, a better hunter. And these guys really seem to know how to do that. So I'm going to be talking today with Dalton Lewis from the Stick Boys YouTube channel. And so I think you're going to enjoy this episode. And listen, the video quality is not the greatest today just because of internet connections, but I promise you, you will want to stay tuned on this one because the information that we're going to be talking about is gold. And so without further explanation, let's jump into the podcast with Dalton Lewis of the Stick Boys. You're listening to the Dirt School podcast. I'm your host, Casey Johnson, and if you like hunting, fishing, country stories, and learning lessons from those who live their lives in rural America, you're going to love this podcast. Brought to you by Hunt Real Outdoors. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Dirt School podcast. I have a unique individual on here tonight, at least from my perspective, Mr. Dalton Lewis from the Stick Boys. I've been watching you guys for a while now on YouTube, and so I'm excited about this conversation to talk to you, man. So, Dalton, I appreciate you being on here tonight, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. If you've been watching a lot of us, then you need to expand your horizons because you must be pretty bored.
No, 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 no. I'll tell you why I watch it, and I'll tell you how I started watching you guys. I've taken recurve hunting, traditional hunting to another level in my
Yeah.
own personal life. And so a few years ago, I was just, you know how you get on the old YouTube
Right.
machine and you just type in traditional bow hunting and
Yep.
you're trying to look for anybody and everybody you can that's hunting that
Yep.
way. And it ain't a whole lot.
No,
But you
sir.
guys popped up and I started watching it and I said, there was a couple of things that really kind of drew me to y'all's channel and to watching y'all.
Hmm.
And one of them was the fact that you were hunting with traditional archery and you were killing deer.
Yeah.
The other thing, which I deeply want to talk about tonight, is hunting mountain country or hill
Mhm.
country, however you want to call that. I would say
Yeah.
mountain country. And then the third thing is I kept hearing you talk about, well, we got to go to church. We got to go to
Yeah.
church. And so I said, well, he must be a man of faith. And so I
Absolutely.
am too. And so I
Yeah.
definitely want to talk to him. So anyway, here
Absolutely.
we are.
Yeah,
Yep.
man. That's funny you say that. I always try to, we can hunt on Sundays in North Carolina, and
Yeah.
some people have qualms about it. I kind of go by my own convictions, I guess, and the Lord's never really dealt with me on that as long as I put Him first and get there when I need to get there.
That's right.
The only time that's been a problem, I was hunting a real good deer around here, probably 100 and, I don't know, you're going to laugh when you hear this, probably 125, 130 inch deer, which around here is pretty good deer in the mountains. He was big old mountain, warrior, probably 5, 6 year old kind of deer. Just didn't have the genes that you would see somewhere in the Midwest or something like that. Just a sure enough mountain warrior. And I had that boy dialed in, and he was in there with a doe, and he kept pushing a doe all around me. And I just stick bow hunt all year, and it's during muzzleloading season. And I had him under 30 yards, I think 3 different times there in a 3 day span. And I was all over this deer. And I went on Sunday morning, my wife, she rolled over when I was getting up at daylight before daylight. She said, "You better be at Sunday school." And I said, "I'm gonna be at Sunday school, but I'm gonna kill that deer before I get out there." And she said, "Well, I'm just saying you better be at Sunday school." And I said, "Okay, I know, I know." Well, I'm getting there and I'm looking at my watch, and it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I can get there in about 40 minutes. So I know it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And this buck, I saw him twice, but I can't get a shot. I had him at 25 yards, needed one more step, and he walked off a spike, and I couldn't get a shot. And finally, it come down to it. I kept seeing him, and I knew it was time to leave. And I sat there and I went back and forth, and I made the wrong decision. And I said, you
Mm,
know what? I got that deer right there. I can see him. I'm just gonna make preaching today. Is what's gonna happen. I can't leave this deer. What I may not get this opportunity at this deer again. And I sat there, and he bedded with a doe up in this thicket, and I knew that they were going to work down this field towards this field, and the field's on the other side of me. So I knew it was just a matter of her getting up. And I thought, well, if I get to that point, and I was about 20 yards off, he had crossed the same tree about 5 different times, big pine tree, and I thought if I can get to that tree, man, I'll be in good shape. So I shimmied down the tree, had my stand on my back, and I'm like, I'm gonna knock this out real quick, and I'll be good to go. And I looked down, there's a rhododendron bush, at the bottom of my tree that I was kind of sitting in the top of. And when I looked down, one of those stabs went in my right eye and
Oh
scratched my
man.
cornea all the way across. And I want you to know that I was on in just about the fetal position on that ground. I couldn't see anything. My eyes were just flooded with tears from the eye. And I don't know how I got home, but I got home. Luckily, my girl I graduated with is the local eye doctor, so she broke in her building. Literally, sheriff's department showed up because she didn't, whatever, and just to get me numbing so that I would get out of the fetal position.
Yeah.
And that's the last time I skipped Sunday school to deer hunt. So
Well, your wife probably said, "I told you.
she did. Yeah,
I
she let me
told you."
know. She let me know sure enough that that she
Yeah.
had told me that was going to happen. But anyways,
Well, that's one of them moments where you're like, it's not maybe not very often, but you're like, well, Lord, I thank you for your grace in that
yeah, that's
situation.
right. Yeah,
Even though I
because his
learned
old
my
boy needs
lesson,
it.
yeah,
Yep. But
I need
every
a lot
time,
of
I
that.
swear, as stupid as that is, every time I'm hunting, and it's Sunday morning and it's just a good morning, I'm like, yep, let's go. Let's go. I don't
Yeah,
care how good it is. I'm getting to church because it ain't
that's
worth
right.
it. Whatever's coming, it ain't worth it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, tell me just a little bit, maybe briefly, like where you're originally from, if it's
Yeah.
there, but just tell me where you're originally from and how you started hunting with stick bow and
Yeah.
maybe why you are so diligent to hunt with just stick bow.
Yeah. So I'm from the mountains, North Carolina. I've lived here my whole life, and Lord willing, I'm gonna be here till I die. I don't. There's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be than right here. Texas. I would live in Texas, but uh, but I like it right here. I'm a mountain boy at heart, and so I grew up here. A lot of people don't realize there's mountains in North Carolina, but we're up. A lot of the places I hunt are, up near 4,000 feet. So we're up in the mountains, up mountains. But I started hunting. I've been ate up with bow hunting since I was a little kid. When I say little kid, I mean when mom told dad that I was pregnant, he started making me a self bow. And uh, so when I came out, I had a bow, and I've had plenty since. But I've had always had a bow in my hand. When we played Cowboys and Indians, I was always the Indian. It's just something that's always just been me, and it fit my personality. And when I killed my first deer pretty early, and we've got a lot of deer here in North Carolina, and there for a while we had unlimited does, and 2 bucks unlimited does, and I grew up and I'd been part of you know depredation things and things like that, but I had taken a lot of deer, is what I'm saying, at a very
Right.
young age. And yeah, I shot a stick bow growing up, and then when I got big enough, when I got in middle school, high school, I'd switch to a compound because like just what everybody else was doing, and like it just I could. It was more accurate, obviously, and it just I don't know, just what everybody was doing. So that's what I did, and I was very successful with that, like a lot of deer with a bow. And I remember one year, um, I a, a good buck came through, and I remember pull my bow off had an old Matthews DXT. I don't know if you remember them. It was
Yep.
brand hammer new that year. I'd saved up and helped dad. Dad bought it for Christmas, but I'd saved up and bought the other stuff go with it. So I had that bow, I pulled it off bow hanger, and that buck came by me and started to shoot him. And I remember clipping on, and I was just like, I don't know. I mean, it's just not that big of a deer. That's like 110 inch kind of deer, 150, but it was a good mountain mature buck. And
Right.
I remember just feeling this sick like pit. That's just like something you love so much you're losing it. Like you're I don't know, maybe I married my high school sweetheart, so I don't know, but I imagine if you're dating a girl and you realize, hey, she ain't the one, there's got to be a feeling where it's like this ain't it, man. Something's just
Right.
not right anymore. And I had that feeling, and that scared me. Gosh, it scared me because bow hunting has been like since I was a little kid, that was everything to me. And so I had to figure out how to change it. And I was watching. I remember doing that as a kid. I loved it. Had recurves, longbows. Remember watching Barry Wenzel on Hunting the Country on Sunday morning on ESPN. I don't know if you remember that, but ESPN used to have hunting.
Right.
And he had his hat on sideways in Barry Wenzel style, and he shot a 10 point in Texas right underneath him. And I remember I was like, dude, that's awesome. That's like next level, man. No sights, no nothing. So I picked that up, killed my first deer with a recurve that year, and man, I ain't looked back since.
Yeah.
The next year, I started to take a compound. I had a pretty good deer that I was hunting, and I was like, man, let's take that compound. What if he comes by at 30 yards? And I remember my buddy told me, he said, if you kill that deer with compound, you're just robbing yourself. What are you doing? And I was like, you're right. I've never even thought about it since. So I
Wow.
don't know. It's
Wow.
just, it's cost me deer, no doubt, but I think
Yeah.
I've killed a lot of bucks that I wouldn't have killed because the level of woodsmanship it takes
Yeah.
is different, and it makes you a better bow hunter. So,
Yeah. Well, it seems to me, which, like I said, just the last couple of years, I've been really getting a lot more serious about it. Last
mhm.
year, I hunted mostly with my recurve.
Yeah,
I hunted a little bit with my compound, but mostly it was with my recurve.
right.
And so I haven't gotten to the place, and I'm tinkering with the idea of this coming up year, just going as far as bow hunting is concerned,
Yeah.
strictly going with my recurve. But here's what I've noticed over the last several years since I've been trying to do this. I've always watched hunting videos and things like that. Just all the big name people that hunt and stuff. And but when I started Googling traditional archery and different things like that, I started running into more people that seem to have an emphasis on woodsmanship instead of
Mhm.
just killing a deer. And then I started noticing um, it started to become a little more glamorous for these other people to start shooting recurves. Like the
Mhm.
more and more you watch YouTube and watch these hunting shows, even the folks that have the really big shows and things like that now they're starting to tinker around with traditional archery,
Yeah.
and it just seems like it's becoming more and more popular.
Hmm.
I made a couple little documentaries on my YouTube channel called Chasing the Past, and
Yeah.
it just seems like more and more people are glamorizing. Let me just pick up a stick bow and go out there and try to kill one with it.
Yeah.
And of course, you know as well as anybody how difficult that is to do,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's so fun
It's
because
way
it's
fun.
such a
Yeah.
challenge, and it's like you have to do everything different. Everything's got to
Hmm.
be closer. You got to put yourself in a situation to where deer are closer to you instead of just
Hmm.
watching deer and flinging an arrow 50 yards. They got to be there close. It's just something. This is the word I've been using, and it's probably going to be overused, but it's just something primal about it, man. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like a Native American from a long
Yeah.
time ago out there chasing buffalo or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you'll see, in my opinion, you'll see more folks. You're talking about, bigger channels and stuff doing that. You'll see more folks. Part of it's for clicks.
yeah,
Um, part of it's for, I think part of it is the hunting industry is going through a very big soul searching phase right now. I
right.
think we've gotten to a point with technology that everybody knows it's kind of crossing a line. And
Yeah,
it's like, this really isn't that fun anymore. Like it's
right.
it's not fair, I mean, that's like everybody likes winning, but when you roll up, you just beat up on a team real bad. It's like that's not
Right.
really that fun, there's so I kind of think we're there in the hunting industry and the hunting world, I guess so to speak, and woodsmanship is really selling. And I think it's not only hunting. I think like the 90s, man, is huge. I'm telling you, I'm a high school teacher and a volleyball coach. Anything we make merch wise, anything like school wise, they want it 90 themed, man. They look like Will Smith walking through the hallway and
Yeah.
Saved by, what, and it's like, man, that's it's coming back around. And I think it's the same way in the hunting industry. I think that vintage, we sell these hats. You can't keep a flipping mossy oak tree stand hat in in stock at all. Like as soon as
Yeah.
you get them in, they're gone. But now
Yeah.
you had a new camo pattern, it'll sit on the shelf. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I just think it's part of that, but the woodsmanship to me is that's where the biggest difference
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
when you really see somebody that knows what they're doing
Yeah.
versus a bow hunter that picks up a stick bow. There's a
Yeah.
big difference between a bow hunter picks up a stick bow and a woodsman. There's a
Yeah.
big difference there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't take long. Even on YouTube, you can pick out little things and been like, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I kind of see, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe
Yeah.
that's
Well,
judgmental, but
well, I think there's a lot to it though, and I'll give you a prime example. I'll take myself for an example. Um, I wouldn't say that I really started learning how to hunt till I got out of high school. I mean, I hunted,
yeah.
but I didn't really start learning how to hunt till I got out of high school, got
Right.
married. And I remember getting on a club in Mississippi. It was kind of north of Vicksburg, Mississippi, in a little place called Redwood,
Okay.
and it was some hill country, which made me real fascinated with hill country. It
Hmm.
wasn't mountains, but it was hill country. It was
Yeah.
steep to me. You know,
Right.
when you got to have a block and tackle and a 300-foot rope to get deer out. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like that's some hills. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
got you.
so I hunted on that club for like now I was rifle hunting and bow hunting back then. But I hunted on that club for like 10 years. And it was
Mhm.
some Anderson Tully Timber Company property. And so you could
Gotcha.
not bait. You could not bait.
Yeah.
And so not that I'm against people baiting. I mean I
Yeah.
do sometimes too here where we are. But I never baited there. I just had to learn like
Mhm.
where those deer were traveling. Now, I
Right.
wasn't hunting with a stick bow then, so I wasn't as close because I could shoot them with a rifle.
Right.
But I started learning a little bit of the nuances of how you hunt some of those ridges and those bottoms and those little
Hmm.
fingers, you know. And that's one of the things I really want to talk to you about
Yeah.
tonight. But so I started learning that. I started killing some really nice deer there.
Hmm.
And then I ended up moving. I got out of that club and I went into vocational evangelism. So I was traveling all over the country preaching revivals and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I got out of that club. And then for whatever reason, when I moved back to be a pastor at a church, I just like I'm in flat ground now.
Hmm.
I'm right on the edge of pine country, and you go down a hill and it's more bottomland, farmland down
Gotcha.
there.
Yep.
So the way you hunt those two is a little bit different, but it's
Yeah.
mostly just it's flat land.
Right.
And so the main means of hunting around here is every 300 yards somebody has a bait pile. And if you don't bait, you're not seeing nothing.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
especially in like the
Yeah.
pines kind of deal. So I really kind of got out of the habit of practicing woodsmanship and I was
Hmm.
just throwing corn out, throwing feed out and just going to hunt.
Yeah.
And then but the last couple of years starting to and I've hunted both ways. I'm not
Mhm.
going to be self-righteous and act like I haven't hunted over corn or whatever. I mean, the
Yeah.
deer I killed with my recurve last year was over. I had some rice bran out and he was coming to it.
Right.
So I'm not being self-righteous like that. But I spent the majority of the year trying to hunt public ground and some private that I had without baiting, just to
Right.
try to catch them in their natural patterns. And watching people like y'all do what you do has really made me realize you stopped hunting a long time ago and you just picked it up a couple years ago. You just been sitting and killing is what you've been
Yeah.
doing. And so now it's really gotten me to where I'm like, no, you really need to get back to figuring out the tracks, figuring out the trails,
Yeah.
figuring out the funnels and saddles and all that stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
Yeah.
I'm coming back to all of that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no worries at all. Hey, I understand. Around here, it's the same way. I mean, you can bait in North Carolina, and yeah. I'm not gonna be self-righteous either. I don't hunt
Yeah.
over bait,
Yeah.
but I have in the past. I mean,
Sure.
a lot of these properties. I mean, just being real, it's Christmas tree. The county I live in is the biggest producer of Christmas trees in the country. And so it's that's our farm country. There's no corn, there's none of that, but it's Christmas trees, and they
Right.
eat buds and cost a lot of money. So we have these depredation permits. I'll start one next month.
Yeah.
And you'll get 25, 35 tags, and you've got to kill 25, 35 deer. So there's hunting and then there's killing, like you're saying. And some of these
Right.
properties that I have had access to in the past, not as many now. I haven't had any of these in a while, but it's kind of a deal. It's like you can hunt but I need you to kill a lot of deer. And
Right.
that, and that's kind of, that, so that, part of it, again, there's always a give and a take, but that's around here. There's a lot of that, you're talking about every 300 yards, there's
Yeah.
a bait pile. It's just like that here. And
Yeah.
actually, if you'll notice on the video, once mid-November hits, early November, mid-November, after Thanksgiving, I don't really hunt North Carolina very much. I'm up in Ohio a
Ohio.
lot.
Yeah.
And or I'll go to Georgia, somewhere like that. Like, it's so hard to hunt once the corn starts hitting heavy, once the gun season starts and there's corn on every ridge, they turn
Right.
into a different critter, and they're
Yeah.
not being deer. And
Yeah.
it's hard to hunt deer that aren't being deer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know, but again, there is a difference, like you're saying. I completely understand, and I understand what you're saying. If you're not baiting, you're not seeing, man,
Yeah.
it completely changes their habit. It changes where they're bedding. It changes where
Yeah.
they're moving, when they're moving. It
Right.
changes where they're at. A lot of times, a lot of guys are wondering, around here locally, I hear a lot of my students, "So I hit him too high, hit him too high. Was he standing in the corn pile? Yeah. Yeah. It's like, man, they're on edge. Like
Yeah.
they know that something's wrong. Like, whereas if you're shooting them over acorns, if you're in acorns or you're, just got him in a funnel, it doesn't duck you nearly as bad. I mean, that's just because they're
Right.
calm.
Yeah, well,
They're
I just did a podcast with Joe Miles last
okay.
week.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with Osseo, and
yeah,
he, this past year he hunted with a recurve to try to kill a deer, and he said the same thing. He was talking
yeah.
about because he went to Texas, and he was talking
Right.
about when they're in the feed. He said they are so on edge, and he's
Hmm.
like, the first one I shot at, I missed like 2 feet because that thing
Yeah.
just ducked and moved out of the way. And
Yep.
he made that exact statement that he said, I feel like if you're hunting them on a natural pattern and they're just cruising through the woods and all, they're just a little less likely to duck and things of that nature. And
Hmm.
and that is true. And for us here, if like after deer season starts, if I pretty much, unless I've got a piece of property all to myself,
Hmm.
if I want to hunt anything that's no bait, then it has to be public.
Right.
We
Yeah.
we got public ground around here, several within an hour or two from here, and so,
Right.
and I hunt it, and
Yeah.
and I've started trying to learn some spots that I used to hunt when I
Yeah.
was a kid, kind of reacquaint myself with those. But I don't know, man. It's just something challenging about it, and the older I get, it seems like the more I want a challenge.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, that's what it is for me. That's I like I said, that buck, what when I was talking about that buck walking by, and I couldn't, I put the pin on it and I squeezed, and it was it. And it's just like that felt like a rifle to me. And that was that worry that I was talking about, was that same thing. That challenge was gone. And that
Right.
whole, like, it was work. I mean, it was just like something that I don't know how to explain that, but there was no challenge. There was no thought. There was no, I don't know. It was just very efficient. And that really scared me because I didn't want to lose that love. And that's, so the full circle, but it's the exact same thing. That's exactly what you're describing, is exactly, how I got, doing what I was doing, just because I wanted that challenge. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, what I've seen for me is it's like stair steps. Like when you was a
Yeah.
kid, you just wanted to kill a deer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
you wanted to kill a buck.
Right.
And then you wanted to kill a good buck.
Yep.
And then maybe, okay, I've done that with rifle. Now I want to kill one with a bow or whatever. So I feel
Right.
like for me, number one, I started at a high place as far as the size of deer that I've killed with
Yeah.
a recurve, because I started in Kansas. So I
Gotcha.
killed a
Yeah.
I killed a really good buck in Kansas. The kind of the second year I started hunting with a recurve, just a monster. And
Yeah.
then the next year I decided I wanted more of a challenge.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I'm gonna make my own bow and
Yeah.
try to kill one. So I made a self bow,
Hmm.
long bow, and then I fooled around and killed one with it too.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But I killed them in all of them were in Kansas, and
Yeah.
we were baiting, and
Yeah.
but I killed both of them in Kansas. And so then this last year, I just kind of wanted to kill one here at home. And
Yeah.
so it's actually that deer, wherever that's at, right there.
Yeah.
I can't even point to it now, right there.
There you go. Okay. I
Killed
got
that
you.
one. Yeah, it was
Heck of a
like a
deer.
115-inch deer, which is a good
Yeah,
deer for right here where we're at.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I just now I'm at the place to where I want to kind of kill one just completely natural,
Hmm.
with the recurve, and so I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to do due diligence to that. So this
Yeah.
coming up year. So
Well,
all
I'll
right.
tell you that where you're at is a tough place to do it.
Ooh.
Flat ground in my opinion, is, and of course I grew up in mountains, like
Mhm.
straight up and down. So it's that anything but that's weird to me. But flat ground, that's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different all kinds of all terrain is difficult.
Yeah.
But to me, with no terrain, I'm almost lost. Like
Yeah.
I feel much less confident hunting in the
Right.
area like you are than here.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad. But that there's I'm sure there's little things that, that translate. It's just going to be on a smaller scale than
Right.
here. So
100%. Yeah. So that brings me to this question that I wanted to ask. And I've got a couple of them that really have a lot to do with topography and the terrain and everything. So tell me what your best hunt has been with your trad bow on a whitetail, and what kind of strategy did you use to kill it?
probably the one that comes to mind, that's pretty tough. Um, Two of them in the same area. But we'll go with this one because it's this deer right here.
Okay.
That was, I think that was 20, I don't remember what year that was. Anyways, he he was just cruising a bedding area, and that was the one hunt that well, long story short, I was in on an area on public in Ohio and was doing seeing good bucks every weekend. And I was going up there after work on Friday, and it's not that far from here. It's like 4 hour trip, so it's not that bad. So I would jump in my truck after work, and I'm a teacher, so it'd be like 3 o'clock. Get to Ohio, and we'd hunt every weekend. My buddy Ethan and I, that year, I slept in a bed with Ethan more than I slept with my wife in a bed. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Because we would go hunt every weekend. I mean, it
Yeah.
got ridiculous. The ladies at the local diner there thought we were locals. But anyways, we were on some deer, and I was in a killer spot and on some big deer and some big sign. And I went in there, and it was 32 degrees on Halloween day, perfect wind, and everything was magic. I got in there at daylight, way before daylight on Saturday, and I seen a green light at my tree. And I was like, what the crap is going on?
Oh.
What is that green light? And I got over there, and it was a lighted knock, broke off bloody arrow. And I was like, dang, that's not good. This deer dropped this arrow here somewhere. Nobody had been hunting there all fall. And then I looked up and there's tacks and a tree stand, like the tree next to where I'd been hunting. I was like, gosh almighty. Like,
Oh.
so I turned around and I was like, well, and you know how it is on public, you need plan A, plan B, plan C. And then when you get that's trip one, and then you need to be looking at all the way down the alphabet. You
Yeah,
want all
right.
those plans
All the way
because
to Z.
this kind of thing happens, right? So it's daylight, and at this point, it's like getting gray light. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna let it get plum daylight, to use a mountain word, but I'm gonna let it get plum daylight here so that I can see and make less noise getting to this next spot. Well, sure enough, here comes the guy, and it's actually his buddy, and I knew this guy. He was from Maine. He's awesome. We had ran into each other scouting. Dude's a killer. Like,
Yeah.
you go on public. Here's a golden nugget. Everybody listens to these podcasts for little golden nuggets. If you
Yeah.
go on public and you see a brand hammer new truck with all kinds of First Light stickers, all kinds of Kuyu stickers, all kinds of these brand new stickers, and it's a new truck and it's a clean truck, and don't worry about that guy. He ain't
Yeah.
killing nothing. Don't worry about
That's
it.
right.
He
Yeah.
gonna be at the diner by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that boy. But when you run into somebody with three different kind of camo, driving an old beat up Ford Ranger and a 13-year-old bow, worry about that guy because he's
That's
going to
right.
kill the biggest buck in that place. And that's a
Yeah.
promise. Well, that
Yeah.
was just one of those guys. Like I knew this guy. We had been buddies. But anyways, that's just a side note. So I left that morning and the places that I went were just complete strikeouts. And it's 32 degrees Halloween day, like I said. Oh man, I was like, golly, of all days to be an orphan here. What am I doing? This is not the day. So I went in a new area just based off of bedding. And this is what answers your question here. Got down on Spartan. I really like Spartan Forge because 99% of it is leaf off, so you can see it. They also do 10-foot increments on contours, so I can really
Right.
narrow it down. Um, Noticed all this big chunk of bedding. Noticed the leeward side, there was a bench on it, and from the leaf off, it looked like it was thicker on one side. And I said, I've never been in there, I don't think, to that extent. So let's go. Put my stand on my back, got my bow, got my camera. I had on by that point, it warmed up, had on a t-shirt, sweatshirt in my backpack. And I was like, whatever, I'm just going to go. I mean, I can't not go. It's Halloween day, whatever. So I go in there, and I remember getting to that knoll, and there were scrapes all the way up it, but they were little secondary scrapes. They were just little frustration scrapes. They weren't the scrape.
Right.
Going up through there and right up above that knob in that thick, man, it was flat and pawed down in it, and there was like 5 different buck tracks in it, like 5 different directions. The ground in the middle was still dark. And I'm like, and here's the thing, I don't know how they are in Louisiana. Bucks in Ohio, you can kill them suckers. Like scrapes are deadly. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what it is about Ohio, but that kind of stuff works. So I looked at that thing and I was like, and I was gonna leave and go on to where I had pinned that I was like, I need to go here. And my gut was just screaming, do not leave. What are you doing? Go up a tree, go up a tree, go up a tree. Don't be an idiot. Don't overthink it. Just go up a tree. And I fought that and fought that, fought that. And I said, you know what? I guess I'm just gonna go up this tree. And as soon as I made that decision, I heard a stick break, and I looked to my right, and here comes probably 135-ish inch 9 point huge buck. I mean, just big
Oh,
body, just fat rolls, big old bruiser. Come around that thicket. I guess somebody or something had bumped him, and he worked down that thicket. And I took a knee, and that sucker almost got an arrow off the ground, but he turned right back around and bumped back into that thicket. Well, he did that twice, like cat and mouse. And I was like, well, that's all I needed to see. I had already decided, but I'm sure as heck ain't going anywhere now. So I
right.
slip up that tree, I get in, put my jacket on, and then here it is. Here's the fun part. And then I was feeling so good. I'm like, yeah, baby, here we go. We're in good shape. And then I hear this drunk guy, and it's a horse trail. And this
Oh
guy,
man.
I mean, I'm talking, he was drunk, drunk. Like I'm talking the hooping and hollering drunk on a horse with 2 girls. And they come all the way around this horse trail, all the way by me. I mean, he's hooping and hollering and yelling. This is an hour before dark, 45 minutes before dark. And I'm going, oh man, I was feeling so good. Like, are you serious? Like, I just wanted to just climb down right then. But I was like,
Right.
man, there's like 45 minutes left. Let's just leave. It wasn't 10 minutes later, and I heard a deer walking up the edge of that thicket, and right behind it, I heard, "Rrrt, rrrt," and I was like,
Oh
"Oh my
man.
gosh, that's a buck running a doe. That's a buck pushing a doe." She wasn't ready. He hung a right, walked right underneath my feet, and I ran an arrow down through him, and he's dead in 70 yards. And that was him. He was in the mid 30s, I think, 136 ish, I think. Was what we
Man.
taped him at, but not a huge deer, but a big, mature, wide public land rascal, man. I just that, but that's the hunt. You say, what's the hunt? That's the one. That's where I'm dreaming. That's what I think about, I guess.
That's a big deer to
As
me.
of right now.
Yeah.
I hope it gets topped next year. And it's like next time I go tell this story, it's like, oh, man, it was 2025.
So a couple things you said right there. I mean, I would say that probably the tactic used there was that you obviously found the fresh scrape,
Yeah, yeah.
that fresh scrape, and that those deer were right there in that area. But you made a statement also, and I think I understand what you're talking about, but just in case somebody watching or listening doesn't understand that, when you said leeward, I looked at the
Mhm.
leeward side. Is that like a south facing slope? Is that what it is when you say leeward? Is that what that
It's
means?
the underside of the wind. So it could be the south. It could
Oh,
be the south slope if you got a north wind, or the
okay.
north slope if you got a south wind.
Gotcha.
So it's the basically the opposite. And so what happens during the rut? And this isn't you can find this all over the internet, and it may explain a lot more than I can. But they can smell everything over that hill, right?
Yeah.
And then when the thermals rise, they're getting the thermal pull up in the mornings, and then they got the dumping over on the top, and hypothetically they can smell both sides. But like,
Mm,
it's one of them things. It's not that you can't kill a deer on a windward side. It's just that you will a lot of times find bucks hanging out, and deer in general hanging out uh, on that leeward side. I've always done better on the leeward side. But that was just what was going on there. It was the leeward side of this was just a nasty thicket that rolled up over a hill, and that wind was dumping out of that thicket, and I was right on the transition. So I knew a buck scent checking for that buck's not going to walk on the top of that thicket. He's going to walk and
Right.
get, and most of the time it's quartering. Most of the time it's not straight into it or straight away from it. It's quartering down and away, and he's going to catch all of that, all of
So
those does. It's more efficient.
yeah,
If you go to Walmart with your wife and you can't find her and you left your cell phone in the truck, you're not going to go down every aisle looking for your wife. That's dumb. That's
right.
inefficient. You're going to get on the middle aisle and you're going to walk down the aisle looking down the aisles. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing. They're being
Okay.
efficient
Okay.
and
Okay.
checking
So
everything.
let me see if I can. Let's use this microphone because
Hmm.
I want to make sure I'm understanding
Yeah.
this because I'm trying to learn this hill
Yeah. Yeah.
country
Yeah.
stuff. Okay. So we flatland, man. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
relearn all this, and then I'll tell you how I hunted whenever I was
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
hill country there in Mississippi. But let's just say this is the top of the ridge right here. This
Uh-huh.
mic.
Yeah.
All right. So the wind is blowing this away.
Yep.
Okay. So the leeward side would be down here.
Down there.
Okay. So it's
Yep.
dumping off here. Thermal's
Yep.
pulling up here. He's walking right here
Getting them
and
both.
he can smell it all.
Yeah.
Got it. Got
And
it.
that's not, and obviously that's going to be when the thermals are rising. That's going to be a late morning with the
Right.
sun. Like thermals aren't something, if you've got any big wind at all, they're not even in play,
Right.
because the wind's pulling it.
Pulling it.
But
Yeah.
thermals, it's the air, heavier air, colder air is sinking, warmer air is rising, and so they're
Right.
they're using that to their advantage. And a lot of times, I know you've felt this even in Louisiana. There's a special point about 30 minutes, 45 minutes before dark, something like that, you'll feel that air cool.
Yep.
And
Yep.
suddenly it's just like, oh, that felt really nice. Well, if you'll notice,
Hmm.
bingo, there's deer. And
Yeah.
it's like a lot of time they'll wait on that switch
Yeah.
because they get their favorite. This same piece of public that I killed that big buck on, there was a long story short, I had two trees to hunt, and I on the edge of this bench doing the same thing that I just described, and I couldn't decide which one to be on, and I tried to be double minded and get in the middle of it to where I could shoot to both. That was not a good idea because I didn't
Right.
go to the one I knew to go to. When that thermal switched, here he came. Well, I'm on the top side of it because I was trying to got outsmarted myself, and I was trying to shoot up a place he'd have never been anyway,
Right.
and he got me because he got below and he picked up my thermals, and that
Yeah.
was a good deer too. But that just they use that to their advantage, and that's a huge misconception that bow hunters have, and I just hope they keep having it. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
because not everybody
Yeah.
needs to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, People they look at the wind and they say, "I can hunt this stand, and this stand." Okay, who is that wind right for? Because if it's right for you, it's wrong for him, and he ain't gonna be there. That's
Yeah.
dumb. That's a good way to
Yeah.
get killed.
Yeah.
So you need to people like they want to set it up to where it's like they can't get smelled, and you may kill a deer like that. Specifically, if you're rifle hunting, it don't matter. You're far enough away, but if it's dead, if the wind is perfect for you, it's dead wrong for him, and he's probably not going to put himself in that situation.
Right.
Whereas if it's almost wrong, I've done the best when it's almost wrong, and we talk about this on the podcast a lot with Woodsmanship. Those are really deadly sets. If you can either and Altizer talks about this all the time. If you can get up on the find a curve or find some kind of obstruction or find some kind of turn and get just off of it to where he thinks he's got the wind,
Right.
then bingo. And you're talking about deer ducking it. Big bucks typically don't duck the string because they
Yeah.
are so dadgum confident in what they're doing.
Right.
They think they're bulletproof.
Yeah.
And if they don't know you're there, a lot of times they'll stand there and take the arrow. It's
Yeah.
specifically in Ohio. I don't know that I've ever had a buck drop in Ohio much. But again, it's just confidence. Like they feel like they're
They've
in
done
really
everything
good
right.
shape. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they should be. They don't know that you're just off of it or he hadn't quite gotten to you. You know,
Yeah.
some of the best stands I have, you know, I'm gonna get busted. It's just I've got to get an arrow in him before I get busted.
Yeah. Yeah.
That buck I killed in Ohio this year, same way. He was going to get me, but I
Yeah.
I got him first.
Well, yeah,
But
that's right. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I remember whenever I was hunting in Mississippi, I remember there were times whenever, I was hunting in certain spots and I really didn't understand all that back then.
yeah,
I was in my 20s and I just didn't know. I just knew that every time I went there,
hmm,
that was a good spot,
yeah,
and I knew the features that I looked for, and
hmm,
I'll explain to you what I mean by that. But But I also know in that spot, I remember the wind could be, I remember telling people, man, look, I can hunt that on like multiple different winds
Yeah.
because it seemed like whenever I dropped, something, smoke or whatever I had, it always seemed like it was rising up,
Yeah.
and I know now that that was thermals
Yeah.
working to my advantage. But the way I hunted back then is I would look for a place where, and I always hunted on the side of the ridge, looking down in the bottom is what I always tried to do.
Yeah.
But I always tried to find a place where about 3 or 4 fingers were
Hmm.
come off of a ridge, a main ridge, were coming down into a bottom. And the
Yep.
reason I thought that that was good, and it seemed to be back in those days, was because they could come from like 4 different directions
Right.
and they were going to cross right there,
Yep.
somewhere, whether it was on the side of that ridge, which they often did, or if
Mhm.
it was down in the bottom, they were coming through there from 4 different directions.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
just seemed to work to my advantage,
Yeah. That's well, anytime you can add multiple opportunities for or multiple reasons for a deer to be there, you're in really good shape. And like, like hunting here in the mountains, my favorite time to hunt's first week of season. If I was gonna take a week off of work to hunt, it probably wouldn't be during the rut if I couldn't do both.
Right,
I think that first week of season is deadlier. We get on more big deer then than we do in the rut. And but even then or in the rut, it doesn't matter. You want to combine multiple reasons for them to be here. So if
right.
there's a transition, great, there's one thing. If there's a nasty bedding above it and he's catching that, good, there's two things. If
Yeah,
there is strip of, a strip of cedars that comes across and diagonals up into that, perfect. There's four things. Like you just keep piling those reasons for that buck to be there and you'll find yourself being more successful. Whereas a lot of these guys, they want to go sit on a stand and be like, well, he's coming here. It's like, well, yeah, but why is he not going there? Well, I don't
you're
know.
right,
But
right.
he's coming here. And it's like, you want to combine all of those things together. And it's like, I bet you $1,000 if you go scouting those publics you're talking about around Louisiana. I've never scouted public in Louisiana, never set foot in my life, but I bet you $1 in that scout if you find a 1 foot ridge. I mean, I'm talking this much higher, and it goes in a line. I bet you there's rubs on it.
Yeah,
I mean, guaranteed there's rubs on that, and there's going to be a rub
yep,
line all the way through it. Well, where do you want to sit on that ridge? Well, you don't want to just sit on that ridge anywhere because there's rubs from the beginning of it to the end of it. So that the odds are not great. Well, where does it make a tee, right?
right.
Or where does it dump out into a field? Or like you say, where does it dump into a finger ridge? Well, there you're adding the ridge, you're adding the dump, you're adding the cross, you're adding there's four things there for him to be
Yeah,
right there. And you got to think
yeah,
about all that because at the end of the day, you can only hunt so much. And so
right,
you could hypothetically kill a buck in Walmart parking lot, but the odds aren't great. Like
right,
but if what I'm saying, like so anywhere could work, but the
right.
more you can add one, two, three, four, five, and that's true in the swamps of Louisiana, the mountains of North Carolina, the
Sure.
farmland in Ohio, you want to put multiple things together.
Yeah. Well, I think so many people, I know I've been guilty of this, as well, but so many people walk in an area and go, oh, this looks good.
Yeah.
I probably could kill one here. And then you just climb up or something like that. But you
Yep.
really have not done the homework to
Yeah.
go, instead of just looking good, are there deer going to be moving through here consistently? Not just every now and then, because there's
Yeah.
obviously deer move all over, but why would they want to be here? And obviously, if you got multiple things working in your favor, that's going to be better
Yeah.
for you. Yeah.
I think it was, I don't know if it was I think Robert Carter told me this, or Robert Carter said it on our podcast, but I think maybe it was Robert Carter, but I think he was talking about Warren Walmick was the one that said it. He's not sitting somewhere unless he thinks he's going to kill a deer that evening.
Right.
I'm not going up the tree. Like I'm not wasting my evening. Like I'm gonna keep going until my gut says, "Boom, right here, don't move. Go. If you don't kill a deer this evening, something's wrong." Right.
Right.
That's the kind of confidence that you want to have when you're in a tree. Does it happen? No, it doesn't happen every time. Like, more often
Right.
than not, it doesn't. But the next time I go, I'm going to be just as confident,
Yeah.
in what I'm doing there. But I think there's a lot of wisdom to that because a lot of guys will a lot of guys want to hunt deer for what they think they should be doing. and that's a fallacy in logic. Do what they need. Do what you need to do to adjust to them. Don't
Right.
don't think that because you want them to do something, they're going to do it. If that
Right.
makes sense, because it's like, yeah, that should work. Well, should doesn't really count. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
So,
right. That's right. Well,
yeah,
Joe Miles said the other day when I was interviewing him, he made this statement. He said they are masters of their environment.
yeah,
And so if you think you're just gonna, I mean, apart from the occasional, it's the rut, he's
yeah,
dumb chasing a doe somewhere, but I'm talking about like legitimately on a deer. They're not messing up that much at all, and
right.
you have to try to figure out what they're doing and why they want to do it
Yep,
because they're masters of their environment, and you have to be more so in order to find them.
yep.
You know?
And they're there. I mean, that's I had this. I know this sounds really dumb, and I've said this on our podcast before. I had it when I was a kid. I had this like mental block, and then one day it dawned on me: those bucks are still alive in daylight.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what I mean? Like we have this like you see it all the time. He's nocturnal. He's nocturnal. No, he's
He
not.
don't go
He's
in the
not
ground.
nocturnal. I promise you, he's not nocturnal. He gets up, feeds around at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, just like every other deer. He pees, he turns around, beds back down. Like there's hundreds of studies that have done this. Mississippi Deer Lab is one of the best ones
Yep.
ever. They show
Yep.
that there is no such thing as a nocturnal deer. There is
Right.
such thing as you not hunting in the right spot. And
Right.
if you're getting that picture, if you're getting pictures and well, he's always at 2 and 3 a.m. It ain't because he knows where your camera's at. It ain't because it's because you're not in his bedding area.
Right.
You're way out, and it's he's just not getting there. And you may not if it's like it is here. Most of my places that I hunt are like 20 or 30 acres. Like I don't have very much to hunt. Like it's not like big giant 3, 4, 500, 2,000 acre properties that you can keep bouncing with them. I can knock on doors where I think he's bedded and try to get that. But a lot of times you've got to either adjust that way or just be happy. In that situation, your best opportunity is going to be pig of the rut because you
Yeah.
got to get him doing something abnormal. If he's
Right.
doing something normal, you ain't got a chance because you're in
Yeah.
the wrong place. But
Yeah.
um, anyways, I don't know. I like to run rabbits.
I mean,
I
all
like
that's
doing that.
good because that, I mean, that gives insight into really, it gives insight into woodsmanship, which is what I really wanted to accomplish with this podcast. So I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you I'm going to give you a scenario,
Okay.
and I want you to think through this scenario of what would Dalton do in
Okay.
this particular situation. So let's say you're going to, and this is mountain country, but
Okay.
you pull up to a new piece of public ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you've got the weekend to hunt. No, let's just say you got a week. It's a vacation week. You pull into a new public ground you've never hunted before, mountain country. What are the first, second, third things you're looking for of where you're going to hunt? Like, how would you approach that piece of property?
So you got to be a little more specific. What part of the season? What what's the pressure look like? Like
Okay,
what?
let's say it's November.
Okay.
Okay, November. I don't know when y'all's rut is where you are, but
Yeah, it's I the there you anyway, the first I guess the peak is like Thanksgiving Day. That's when the
okay,
craziness happens,
okay.
usually 22nd,
Yeah.
23rd. But like the all of November is good here.
Okay, let's go 1st of November, like first
Okay.
week of November.
Yep.
Okay, so before the peak, but 1st of
Hmm.
November, you might catch some cruising. All
Hmm.
right, so you go there and it's just mild pressure, not
Hmm.
not a lot of pressure at that time, but just mild. There's a few hunters here and there. How are you going to approach that?
I'm gonna find something real nasty right off. So
Okay,
I'm gonna want to find where they're bedded. And I don't mean when I say where they're bedded, I don't mean I'm not looking for his bed.
yeah,
I'm looking for good bedding areas.
hmm,
Number one, I want to identify where the does are, which is probably going to lead me to figuring out what food source they're hitting. So if it's around here, um, in November, white oaks have dried up. You're probably looking for red oaks. Uh, Red oak acorns would be mostly what they're eating that time in November. So I'm going to be focused on red oak acorns around thickets. And now I'm going to correlate that with fresh sun.
okay,
So that time of year, um, obviously scrapes, but things are going to be popping up and things are going to be happening. But I'm going to be looking, I'm going to start focusing around those women. And it's not that I'm going to go set up with them, but I'm going to try to stay in that thick and I'm going to try to stay around those does because I know that he's going to start checking those.
Yeah.
So things like saddles and benches, not as much saddles. Saddles are tricky. Everybody wants to go to them. And if you go to every saddle on every piece of public in any kind of terrain, you will find a ladder stand. Like everybody sees
Right.
that on the maps and runs to it. And they're deadly. I mean, that deer walk through them. It's not that they don't, but they're more trickier to hunt. I like these good benches, which is basically just like a bump out. And either on the top or the bottom of it, there's going to be a thicker side. And that's where the sign will correlate. Um,
When you say that, Dalton, you talking about like there's a main ridge and then a finger comes off the ridge and there's like a bump off of that finger? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you
well,
talking
it
about where
kind
it
of, if
goes
you
like
think
this
of,
and then
I'm
flattens
trying to
out?
think of a way to look at this to show you. Like, it shows like if you got a mountain that's
Okay.
steep like this,
Yep. Yep.
and then you've got, I don't know how to
A
make my
spot
hand
that
look,
flattens out a little bit.
little spot that flattens out
Yep.
and then gets
Yep.
steep again.
Yep.
That's a bench.
Bench. Yep.
And so
Gotcha.
either on the top side or the bottom side, a lot of times the bottom side, specifically on a north face, because the thermals, remember, the
Yep.
sun doesn't hit that side on
That's
steep
right.
country. So
Yeah.
thermals are always dropping. So
Yeah.
the bottom side of that, he can pick up anything on that ridge. Um, I like that kind of thing, especially below it. That's something that it's,
So you want to get below where you think he's walking because the thermals are pulling
yeah.
down.
And
Yep.
here's the way I would say that I want to get in that scenario. If I've got a weekend, my first evening is I want to get on deer. I want to get into deer, and I want to get in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Right, and then I want to get in the ballpark. Once you get in the ballpark, things start to narrow down. And then you start picking up on patterns, and then you say, there's the seat. That's the
Yeah.
seat. I need to be in that tree. And here's how
Right.
I'm going to get to it. So a lot of times, like that buck, or a lot of times it's not that actually that's a bad example because that happened on that tree that night. But a lot of times you'll end up working an area. Like you'll end up hunting three or four trees in 100-yard stretch or 50-yard stretch, even a 30-yard stretch to figure out which tree is perfect. So I guess that's going to extreme, but I'm going to focus on those does. I'm going to find out what they're eating and I'm going to find out the travel corridors to get to them because November 1st, they're starting to move. Like they're starting to
Right.
get up, they're starting to look, thinking about the wind and then think about efficiency when they start looking like that. How can he be efficient? Bucks are efficient with their movement. They do not waste movement. Like if you've ever been around a big buck, and I'm not talking about a 2-year old, I'm not talking about a 4 point, I'm not talking about a doe, and nothing wrong with any of those. I love killing. I'm an equal opportunity employer when it comes. I love a good 2-year old. I still get
Yeah.
excited about things, but that's not really the deer I'm talking about. But when you get on a mature buck, you'll watch his movement, and it will take him most of the time, even that time of year, it's going to take him 45 minutes to go 20 yards or 30 yards. Like they stand and they watch and they stand and they twitch their tail and then they lick themselves and then they stand. And you're just
Yeah.
like there's times where it's just like, holy cow, is this dude ever going to come down this hill or come across this hill or whatever? So you keep that in mind. They're efficient is what they're doing. So if he can check, if you can find a connector that connects two different bedding areas, for example, the best place I have to hunt, literally the best place, is 20 acres. It is the greatest 20 acres there ever was. And
Wow.
because it's a finger ridge, a giant, well, it's not even a finger ridge, there's a saddle, big finger of woods that connects a nasty bedding area. There's a highway on the other side of it. They ain't going the other way. Um, Nasty bedding to these giant fields. If you zoom out, now, of course, I can't hunt. I can only hunt the strip of
20 acres.
woods. The
Yeah.
20 acres that the saddle's on where the thicket pinches down. That's the 20 acres I'd go to if it was 6 miles deep. That's exactly where I'd be because you're combining nasty with food and you can do it efficiently. You can do it safely. You can do it hidden. And if you're the buck, and then from
Yeah.
my perspective, I can get in and out without him knowing it. There's the last thing I want to tell you about that scenario. How can I get in there undetected, meaning I'm going to bust off a deer or two. But how can I get in there without blowing the whole jig before I get there? Because it is
Yeah.
really hard to kill a deer that knows you're there. It actually, I would go further and say it is nearly impossible to kill a deer that knows you're there or knows that something's in there.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? I don't want to go busting through these areas if I'm there for a weekend. I don't want to blow a whole bedding area out. I want to be real tactical about how I'm going in there. But that being said, if I've got a weekend, I'm also going to be aggressive. And my I have had my dad has called me Custer before. I do kind of charge in there a little bit. And what I mean, I'm not going in there blowing stuff out, but it's like Altizer and I have talked. If you've got the scenario and you've got the right situation and you know what you're looking at, and you're like, chances are that buck's not going to be doing that for very long. Chances are he's going to get busted out anyway. Get in there and take a chance. And that's
Yeah.
what I do. And it pays off sometimes. And a lot of times it don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I'll give you a prime example of that, which I don't know if I would have shot this deer anyway because of the property that I was on, but
yeah,
I went in and scouted a little piece of property that I had permission to hunt. I say little, it's 320 acres, but it was one
yeah,
of those section of it that I found an acorn tree dropping,
yeah,
and underneath the limb, it was hanging pretty low. And underneath the limbs, it was like four scrapes. And I mean,
yeah.
it was fresh tracks everywhere. They were on those acorns.
Mm-hmm.
And so that evening, instead of hunting right on top of that, like just right there within shooting distance, I hunted off of it, and I knew
Mm-hmm.
where it was right beside a bedding area. So I had a bedding area, like 15 yards it started from that tree. I had
Mm-hmm.
acorns dropping, and I had fresh scrapes, fresh sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I backed up about 40 yards from that. And right before dark, a 10 point came out,
Yep.
and I got him on video, and then I never saw him again
Yep.
after that. And it was my mistake. I should have been aggressive because all the signs were there,
Yep.
but I was just, you know,
That you got it. You got to make it happen when it's there. And I've learned that lesson. And that's one reason that I had, and last year I was so proud of myself. My strategies paid off, and I had enough self control to do what I said I was going to do. I really changed how I looked at trail cameras last year.
yeah,
Um, because what I would do in the scenario you just said, what I started costing myself deer, I would find that scenario and put a camera there, and
yeah,
I'd go hunt somewhere that already had pictures of a big deer, saying, "Well, I'm gonna prove my theory." Well, I get pictures of the 10 point and I go back there and hunt it and he never does it again. So I decided last year I'm going to be the camera.
yeah,
So
yeah,
instead of putting a camera there, I'm going to put my butt there.
yeah,
Well, it worked. I killed 3 bucks last year. Killed two here and one in Ohio, all the stick bow, all on film. It's like, well, I'll take that back. The second one was with my Kentucky rifle. But if if the situation is right, make it happen. And
yeah,
because what's going to happen is what do you have to lose? Like you don't have anything to lose. Chances are it ain't going to happen either way, even as hot
yeah.
as it is. I had a buddy one time that had pictures of this buck, and you're going to laugh. He was a 4 pointer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that deer would not have scored a crazy amount because he was a 4 pointer, but I promise you he was 20 to 22 inches wide, like
Wow.
a flipping moose. Like I mean,
Yeah,
it was ridiculous. Like
yeah,
it was so awkward looking at the pictures because the deer was so big. Like it was like just this giant frame with no points. He had pictures of that deer like every day for dirt, like within a 20-minute span every day on the same. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just afraid I'll mess it up. Like, who cares, dude? Like, if you mess it up, you mess it up. But
you
if
ain't
you're
gonna
not
kill
going
him
to kill
sitting
him
here.
sitting
Yeah,
here, like, you
yeah,
can't eat the pictures. Like, you can't mount the pictures. Like, this isn't going to work. And he didn't kill the deer. He eventually, the deer, it got up in the season, and the deer ended up, I think somebody ended up killing it. But man, what a hammer of a deer. But he just, again, it just goes back to he didn't get the right situation, or he had the right situation and he just wouldn't pull the trigger. He just wouldn't
yeah,
jump in there, because I don't know. I'm an aggressive person by nature as far as that goes. Like I'm more of a, I guess, I don't know. I tend to be overconfident, I guess, and just to
yeah,
jump in there and make it happen. But it does tend to work out more, I think, because if you've got, like you said, if you got that scenario, you're looking at a very short window.
Right.
If you sit there and you wait and you look at the weather and you're like, well, we're supposed to get a 10-degree drop a week and a half from now. It's like,
Yeah.
well, a week and a half from now,
Yeah, I mean, well, in that situation that I
yeah.
was in, I mean, the acorns would be gone by then. I mean, I
Exactly.
mean, that was
I tell
falling.
you, I hunted some public here in actually Ethan Rodriguez was with me, and I went way back in there, and there was a red oak dropping, and it was on the edge of this overgrown field, and the state had planted uh, food plots all the way down this ridge. And the way the land laid and the way this red oak was dropping was just off of this red oak, I could see all of them food plots. And I knew that I was hunting the next evening for sure. We were camping up there doing all this stuff. And um, that red oak was smoking. And I'll tell you, you want to know some secrets hunting acorns. You need three things. First of all, you need acorns
Right.
and not you need holes and acorns. If you've just got acorns, they ain't eating them. If you've got acorns and no holes, they're not eating them. If you've got just holes and no acorns, you're too late.
Right.
Um, and if you need poop, is what you
Yeah.
need. You need acorns, you need poop. If you got those two things, you're in really good shape. Now, if you can take those two things and then add in fresh rubs, little sapling rubs, I love them little sapling rubs, about as big around as your middle finger. They're
Yeah.
getting all tore up all the way up. I mean, you got these high things. Oh Lord, makes my skin crawl. That's when you got a good feed tree. But when you've got all of those things, that's what was going on that hill. And I remember it was the dumbest thing. Bible talks about it. Double-minded man is unstable in all ways. And I
Always. Yeah.
remember looking at that and I was like, I can kill a buck right there tonight. And this was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I can kill him right there tonight. But then I looked at all them food plots and I'm like, or I could sit 20 yards, get him when he leaves those acorns, and I can watch all those food plots and see where they come out of if I need to move tomorrow. Dumb, 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 dumb. Went up the tree, the wrong tree, got in there, and it was like 2 hours before dark. I mean, way before dark. I heard acorns popping. Sounds like a daggum popcorn machine. I looked around and there was a hammer of an 8 point standing there just chomping down on acorns. He never left them acorns. He milled around, ate them, twitched his little tail, looked around, and I'm sitting there. He ain't 20 yards behind me, but I can't shoot over there. I'm in a maple that's like 9 different directions. And I just sat there and hung my head. And I'm like, you idiot. Like, you just completely outsmarted yourself. You could have put an arrow through him in about 2 seconds. But
Yeah.
no, you had to be, you had to be
Yeah.
smart, guy.
Right. Yeah.
And I've heard that there's a thing out there called an observation sit.
Yep. Yep.
Observation sit. That's the
Yep.
dumbest thing I've ever heard. I ain't sitting nowhere that I
Yeah.
ain't trying to kill a deer that evening. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess there's some situation where maybe in some other part of the
Well,
world, but here in the mountains, I don't get that.
yeah. Yeah. No, I,
If I'm just sitting there, your boy going to watch the Cowboys or something, I
that's
ain't
right.
sitting there. I ain't sitting there if I ain't trying to kill something. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
That's probably more like property that's private and
Right.
you got
Yeah.
big private property and it's manicured and
Yeah.
you're
I guess that's probably right. Yeah,
yeah,
like I said, I'm sure there's a situation you'll probably have a
Midwest
list. Well,
or
that guy's
something.
an idiot. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
greatest tactic. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it never
Yeah.
made sense to
Well,
me. I don't know.
I was sitting here thinking about this, because we're talking about all this woodsmanship, and it really comes back down to, and this is what made me think about this back in the '90s or the early 2000s, maybe I think it was in the '90s though. They come out with that bracelet. What would
Yeah.
Jesus do
Yeah.
bracelets? You remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I do.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so we're talking about all this stuff, and it really comes down to what would the big buck do?
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
it's not what the terrain, how pretty it is. It's
Yeah.
not what's going to make me comfortable and where can I sit where I can, like you said, be double-minded and check out. But it's like, what's the deer going to do? Because
Yep.
that's what I really need to know. What's he
That's
doing?
what you need to know. And
Yeah.
the answer a lot of times, and you'd be surprised at the amount of people that will know the answer and refuse to accept the answer.
Yes. Yes.
And they want to do things the way they want to do things.
Yeah.
And you will have people, and it just makes me giggle. They'll post on social media, and I know you've seen this, opening day 2025. And like you see this every fall. They're in the same daggum ladder stand on the same side of the field
Yeah.
every single year.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you ain't killed a deer in 5 years.
Yeah.
Stands
We
to
ain't had no
reason
opening day
you ain't gonna
picture.
kill one this year. Yeah, you know, I was like, just keep sitting there, man. We ain't
Yeah.
everybody don't need to kill deer. You know what I'm
That's right.
saying? Like, you
That's
just
right.
keep
Yeah.
on being
Save
happy.
some for us.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I see some of these stands, which I've come to know. People are getting smarter. I see
Yeah.
some of these stands, and I'm like, really? That's like, dude, you're in the bottom of a holler. Like, this is a
Yeah.
really bad idea. But then
Right.
I kind of got to looking at them. They ain't been used. It's a decoy. A lot of them's decoy stands. I'm
Yeah.
starting to
Yeah.
figure that out now too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
public land hunting used to be, you didn't, it wasn't overran, but it became cool. So now you got
Yeah.
to adjust your tactics a little bit, I
Yeah. Oh
guess.
yeah. 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 A lot of times people put one somewhere just to keep you out of it. But
Yeah, yeah, make you think
um
somebody's hunting it. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's all there is to. Well, I mean, I can't say anything. This is bad, I guess. But me and Ethan were hunting in Ohio one time. We were in on a big deer, and it's a bit in a good area, and there was this mud hole. And you know how it is. You always go look the mud hole. What kind of
Oh yeah.
tracks are in there? How many people tracks are there? And I'm one, I don't like putting my tracks in that. And I don't really know why. It just doesn't seem, I just rather things not know I'm there. And
Right.
a deer obviously ain't going to read the track, but somebody will. I don't know. So I kind of stepped around that mud hole. And I looked back at Ethan and he just centered that thing, turned around, centered it back this way, turned back around, centered it this way. And he said, "Get over here and put your foot in here." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, these people think there's a bunch of people back here. We ain't seen nobody." And that's awful, I guess. I guess I'm
Yeah.
terrible, but
The old decoy. The
yeah, you know
decoy.
how it is. Yeah, foot
Yeah.
decoys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
let me ask you this because I mean, which the stuff that we've been talking about, man, that's just gold to me. I mean, especially somebody who's trying to be inquisitive about that kind of stuff. But so all of the things that we've been talking about with the woodsmanship, putting everything together, killing good bucks, and all that kind of stuff. If you had to name one or two guys that you say these guys are some of the best I've ever seen doing it, who would it be?
Alan Altizer, Nathan Killen, best bow hunters in the country. I don't
Okay.
care who anybody says. I I would put Alan Altizer and Nathan Killen against anybody across the country, and that don't matter if it's a bear, deer, turkey, elk. I don't think Nathan Killen has ever elk hunted in his life, but I promise you, if he went elk hunting, he'd be a heck of an elk hunter
Yeah.
within hours
Yeah.
because they have, and I've been lucky enough to spend time in the woods with them, and it's different. Like it's different, and I don't know how to explain that other than they just see things on a different level. But those two, that is unequivocal, without doubt. Those two, if that's the best bow hunters I know,
Okay.
absolutely.
Let me explain to you my experience with them and just familiarity with them. Um, Alan Altizer, whenever I was younger,
Yeah,
how old are you?
33, just turned
Okay, I'm
33.
I'm 50. So, um, when I was younger, I remember this is VHS tape, brother.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I remember watching a VHS tape of Alan Altizer.
yep,
He had taken his shoes off
yep. I
and
know
he
that buck. Yeah,
snuck
it's a
up
six
on a
pointer up
buck.
by a skidder.
Yes, and I was like, I hadn't heard that name in forever. And I didn't know what happened to him, but I remember watching that. And I had lost track in my memory of that. And then I watched one of y'all's podcast and it
Yeah,
said Alan Alta. I said, "You've got to be kidding
that's
me,
him.
man."
Yeah,
And
Alan is the
it was
man.
him. Yeah.
I love Alan like he's family. I
Yeah.
think the world of that man, and
Yeah.
he is, talk to him all the time, the nicest guy, and however good of a hunter anybody thinks he is, he's better than you think he is. And
Real.
I
Yeah.
don't know how to explain, and Nathan's the same way, but Alan is, he's very high IQ. Like he's just a very smart man in general.
Yeah.
But then you have a very smart man that spends a lot of time in the woods. So you got a lot of
Yeah.
IQ power going in
Yeah. Right.
with a lot
Right.
of hands-on,
Yeah.
knowledge. And then
Yeah.
you got Allen, but he's talent. My gosh, the
No, no.
talents that
Where does
dude
he
has.
live now?
He's in Tennessee. He's in East
Okay.
Tennessee. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually not all that far from me, but Yeah, he's a good dude. I think the world of Allen.
Now, does he hunt strictly stick bow as well, or he hunt
No,
everything?
he hunts with a little bit of
Yeah,
everything. I think
yeah,
most of his hunting the last few years has been with a stick bow. Now he don't video anything or anything. He'll
yeah.
video it and
Okay.
send it to me or send to Nathan then, but
Yeah.
he don't post his videos much or anything like that. But the man still killing a lot of deer.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right, right.
he's
Well,
something.
so that was my experience with him, just
Yeah,
watching those VHS tapes. And then Nathan, I had never heard of him
yeah,
until I watched y'all's stuff,
yeah.
and then I heard of him. And then since then, like just watching different podcasts and stuff,
Hmm.
now I see him on more and more podcasts. And I
Yeah,
don't know if it's the old algorithm has got
yeah,
me seeing a lot more videos of guys that practice a lot of woodsmanship or whatever,
yeah, yeah,
but I see more of his stuff now. And he
yeah.
does seem to be a extremely intelligent woodsman and
He's
intelligent guy.
again, he is. I've been lucky enough to spend some time in the mountains with him, and I'm really excited this year. We've actually, like last night, we were like geeking out. We're going to do a survival hunt in the mountains this year, which I'm
Oh,
really
sweet.
excited about. Like, we're going to have a big time with that. We hadn't decided on a time frame, but we're going to do that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But just spending a lot of time scouting with him, you know, and the days that I've been blessed enough to get spend with him, like we covered, I think I can't remember. Nathan could probably remember when he sees this, but we either we either covered 15 or 17 miles in the mountains in one
Wow.
day. And in that 15 or 17 miles, and I can't remember, Nathan may correct me, it may have been 13 or it may have been 19. I don't know, somewhere in there, a lot of miles. Um, we found three spots that we'd hunted. Three.
Wow.
And they were signing all of it and big signing all of it. But it was one of them things where, and I'll never, one of my proudest moments was like the greatest thing, and I've spent time with him, love the guy to death. But we were scouting, and we just got through this area, and it's just the way, and I can't even really explain it other than just I was walking, and I was in front of him or behind, I don't remember. We were both kind of walking across the side of this hill, and it just hit me the way everything laid. The sign, Nathan said, "This is it, man. We kill a big deer right here." And he goes, "I was about to say the same thing." And he said, "I don't know what it is." He said, "It's not like anything magic. It's just it's here." And there were, man, when we started looking around, there were huge rubs coming out of that thicket right there, and we just grinned. And I told Nathan, I said, "Well, so that's happy for me. That's a good day for me. If I'm seeing the same thing or feeling the same thing Nathan is, then
Yeah, I
because
thought the
that's
same
part
thing
of
as
it.
you.
And I know that's something that Nathan's talked about. Some of the stuff isn't something that you can articulate. Like some of these places, like that buck, right, this one right here, you looked at that and you said that's not really any different than the 15 scrapes we've walked by. We've walked by 15 scrapes, and this is the one you're freaking out about. I don't know, man. It's just a feeling. Like it's just like a gut, like, yeah, right here. Like this is it. And
Right.
then that confidence gets you up the tree, and then you know what happens. And Nathan's talked about that a lot. It's some of that, it's just, and I'd say it's a combination of experience, it's a combination of, knowledge or something that you've picked up throughout the years. And to be honest with you, I think it's a lot of it, some of it's primal. I don't mean to get
Yeah.
all hippie-ish, but I mean it's like if you watch a painter paint a sun or a landscape. If they paint a person in a landscape, it'll be next to a tree. Why is that?
Right.
Because that's primal. You need shelter. You don't want to be way
Yeah.
out in the open, getting towards dark. That's
Yeah.
trouble. You want to be near shelter, which is that tree. And that painter, some dude from France, sitting there painting a painting, he ain't thinking about that. He's just painting, but he's going to do that. You take Allen's, you gave this example, and I think it's a very good example. You can take kids from inner city Chicago that have never been in the woods, never done anything. And if you light a fire, if you build a campfire out here, they're going to be like gnats
Yep.
straight to it. And it's
Yep.
just something's in our DNA where it's
Yeah.
like,
Just something
hey,
innate. Yeah.
yeah, something innate that's like, hey, I need to go to that,
Yeah.
And Nathan's talked about that, and I think some of it is like athleticism. Um, not everybody's an athlete, and they can go to every camp, and they can pay for everything and wear everything you want them to wear. They're just not going to be it because they're not they just don't have it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I think bow hunters sometimes are the same ways because I know guys that work their butt off and it
Yeah.
just doesn't happen for them. And it's like, I think some of it comes down to that. I don't know. I guess that's a
Yeah.
don't mean to get all philosophical, but you
No,
know
no,
what I
no,
mean.
but
For him,
there
when you talk about Nathan, that's just spending time with him. That's the thing that sticks out. Is that man's he's
he
magic
just got
sometimes.
it.
Magic man, yeah.
Yeah, he like Tim Tebow. He just got it.
He
Whatever
just
it
got
is,
it.
he
Yeah,
got
that
it.
boy, he got it. Ain't no doubt about it.
I
But
remember
I love.
them
They're
just
both
talking
good
about
friends of
that.
mine.
Yeah,
I'm blessed to call them friends. I talk to them
yeah,
every day. Talk to both of them. Actually, I talk to both of them within an hour. So
yeah.
great
Well, I'll be
guys.
dog.
But
That's good, good.
yeah,
Well, let me ask you a couple more things maybe, and then
yeah.
I'll let you go. I know it's getting late, but it's was it 9:20 where you are?
920. Yep.
Okay, it's 8:20 here, but so do you watch, and this is just for my own personal curiosity. Do you watch guys on YouTube? Like who do you watch if you watch hunt videos on YouTube? Who is it that you like to watch?
It depends on whether I'm. It depends on what I would want to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm the guy. Like I'll follow the algorithm. Like right now, it's July 4th. Oh my gosh, whitetail 100%. Like, dude, it's time. Like started going to go hang trail cameras. My little girl's all mad at me because we didn't get to go hiking today. Hiking, we were going to put up camera.
right.
Um, so I kind of follow the algorithm. Like right now, I'm about to hardcore watch bow hunting.
Yeah,
I don't watch strictly traditional stuff. I mean, I do, but like as you said, there's not that much traditional hunting content to consume. There's a lot of people shooting a stick bow
right.
and telling you how or why or whatever, but there's
Yeah,
not that many people putting out good content.
yeah,
And everybody's got their own, and I'm not going to get on some kind of high horse and because everybody kind of got their own thing. But there's not all that much good content in my opinion.
yeah,
So I like watching that. I like watching well done things, something that somebody's really put time in. I really enjoy that. Maybe not cinematography, but one I really got into the other day was Mike Minton. He's a traditional bow hunter. He just put out one about Alaska moose hunting, like solo Alaska moose hunting, and it was like from 2016. I got super into that. But I guess my answer to the question is just I don't know, whatever strikes me. Like and if I'm going to hunt something, it will be that. Like, we
yeah.
just got back from Canada. I killed a couple bears last 2 weeks
Bear,
ago.
yeah.
And so before that it was all, bow
Bear
hunting
hunting.
bears was
Yeah,
what I was watching. But
yeah,
so that YouTube algorithm, which I'm sure you figured out pretty quick,
yeah,
is pretty powerful. If you
yeah.
drop turkey hunt right now, you can be the greatest turkey hunter in the entire world. It won't hit 1,000 views for a month.
No,
And the reason
no.
why is nobody's watching turkey hunting. Like you
Right.
sort of gotta play the algorithm, I guess.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
guess I'm just like that. But
yeah,
anything that's
yeah.
good and well done and uh but
Do you find yourself watching guys that are people would less likely know, or do you watch some of the guys that are like everybody would know, like the real
I
tree
mean, I do
primos?
both.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely do both. Some of the best you got to keep in mind, and I guess I'm biased because I have a camera with me. You've got you got cameramen, and you got bow hunters. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so
yeah,
there's always you can always tell what they're in it for a lot of times.
yeah,
And so I tend to find myself watching the people that are in it for the bow hunting more than the camera.
yeah.
One guy you should check out that you probably already have is Robert Carter. Love that guy. He's gonna have all kinds of content in it, and there's other ones that are like that too. But like it's not gonna be in focus. It may be out of frame. It may be
Right,
whatever, but he's doing it for the right reasons, and you know that
right.
he's a really good hunter. So that kind of thing I really enjoy. Um, but that's what's on there. That and like Peppa Pig because my kid gets on YouTube and searches Peppa Pig
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
oh great,
That's all over the algorithm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she
Yeah.
looked at the trash can the other day and called it the rubbish pile or rubbish
Oh
bin. Like, what
gosh.
do you we quit saying stuff like that in 1776. Like
Yeah, yeah,
get your red coat mouth out of
yeah.
my living room if you're gonna be saying that. But anyways.
Golly. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. I mean, you don't know me from anybody, but hopefully we get to know each other a little better. But
Absolutely.
I really do enjoy watching y'all stuff and I hope to and I think maybe I'm on just a journey of trying to learn
Yeah.
more about traditional archery hunting myself and being a better hunter with that. I've killed plenty of deer. I've got big deer,
Yeah.
but I want to get back to I just really want to hone my skills on getting back to just
Yeah.
hunting deer naturally
Yeah.
with traditional archery stuff. It's just fascinating to me. I love it. I feel like a kid when I'm out there doing it, even if I get a
Yeah.
chance to shoot a doe, which I've yet to kill a doe with the
Yeah.
Tradbow. I've killed 3 bucks and no does.
Yeah.
So,
Those
and
can be
not that I
difficult
wasn't
sometimes.
trying to, it just
Yeah.
hadn't worked that way.
What you're
But
going to find that I'll be interested to hear back in a year or two, what you're going to find is, regardless of what you're using,
yeah,
just putting in that effort to try to make it happen with a stick bow is you're going to be a dramatically better hunter. And
yeah,
that's what we tell guys about our podcast and about the YouTube channel. Even if you don't stick bow hunt, I'm not trying to be some elitist snob. I don't like elitist
sure.
snobs.
Right,
And I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to act like I'm better than everybody because I choose to use a bow that's wooden and don't have sticks. I know that's not my point. That's not my MO. But if you pick up on those things that we're doing with a stick bow that are making us get a shot at, most deer I kill are under 10 yards. So
right,
when if it's working for that, it will definitely work for a compound, and it will sure
right,
as heck work for a muzzleloader, and without a question, it works with a rifle. And so what happens is you get better, and that's a progression of anything. I mean, if you have to be perfect, then in areas that you don't have to be perfect, then you're an all-star. I mean, that's like I said, I'm a varsity volleyball coach. My whole life is volleyball from summer and fall, and we have the toughest schedule in the state of North Carolina. And people look at me like I'm crazy, like I have three heads when the schedule comes out. It's like, you want to play them? And I'm like, yeah, because if you learn how to rub elbows with them and learn
yeah,
how to not get your teeth kicked in, then everybody else is cheap, man. Everybody
yeah,
else is
yeah,
eat like all this other stuff is just, because you're at a different level. And I think that stick bow hunting does that for bow hunters and rifle hunters and everybody else. It just puts it on a different, because the truth is, even with a compound, I've used this example before on the podcast. If as a compound hunter, all you need to know is basically the side of the ridge he's coming across or the funnel he's coming through. You only got to be within 50 or 60 yards, or 40 or 50, whatever your maximum range is. And with a rifle, it's even further. I don't need to know what side of the ridge he's coming across. I need to know where he's going to put his foot.
right.
I
That's
want to know
right.
where his foot's going to be. Where is
Yeah,
he going to be? Like, not,
yeah,
because I need to be within 10 yards of that or 20
yeah,
yards of that. And I
yeah.
can shoot further, but I don't, most of the things I kill are 10 and in. And I don't know. I guess that's a long-winded answer, but it will definitely. I'll be interested to hear back from you in a couple years because you'll either hate it, and throw it all away. Like, it's dumb. I'm going back to killing stuff, or you'll be
Yeah.
like, holy cow, I'm a better hunter.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
learned things that because you can't get away. You can't get away with things that you can get away
Well,
with.
I can tell you right now, I'm not going to hate it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a couple years now, and I'm more in love with it than I was
Then, well, that's a good
before.
sign. Yeah.
And like I'm challenging myself by talking with guys like you, and just asking the questions. Even some of the questions that I ask you, I felt like I knew the answer already, but it's like let me ask that just to make sure I'm not confused about what that means when they say leeward or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I was a little wrong about that. So just that kind of thing. But I heard a quote the other day that and I don't even remember who it was. I think I saw it on Facebook or something. That's where you get all the truth from. but
Yeah.
but
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, but it said if you're the best, it's talking about playing basketball, and it said if
Cooper
you're the
Flag, his
best,
mom. I saw that.
huh?
Cooper Flag. I'm a big Duke fan. I'm a North
Yes,
Carolina boy.
yes.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah, I
the
saw
best
that.
person in the gym, you're in the wrong gym.
You in the
You
wrong
know?
gym.
Yeah, because
That's
you're not
right.
challenging yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's challenging yourself, and then what would the Bucks do? What would
Yep.
the Bucks do? So
Yep.
got to get a
Yeah.
bracelet that says that.
Yeah. What would the Bucks do?
What
And
would the
because
Bucks do?
yeah, that's if you could honestly, if you just have that mindset, then you're way ahead of the game,
Yeah,
honestly. Because
yeah,
that's a lot of times, Alan and I have talked about this. It's complicated stuff, but it's not rocket science. Like,
yeah,
it's not impossible.
yeah, yeah,
It's doable. It's just you a lot of times you have to get out of your comfort zone, and sometimes it's like me. Sometimes it takes bad things to happen for good things to happen. I lost, two of the farms that I hunted were family properties that my in-laws had, and they were pretty big properties, and I killed a lot of deer on them, killed some good deer on them. And when they sold those properties, this old boy I was like, man, this stinks, dude. Like, those are my best places. It's been the best thing ever. That's how I got that 20 acres. That's how I
Yeah.
got like I killed more bucks once I lost those places because it forced me to get out of my comfort zone. It sounds like you're kind of at that place too, where you're getting out of
Yeah.
your comfort zone and you learn something that really helps you,
Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, I'm gonna let you get off of here, and I do appreciate it, and I do hope we can keep in touch
absolutely.
and touch base a little bit between here and there. I'll definitely be following all of y'all's YouTube stuff still,
Yeah,
and if you want to check out mine, that's Hunt Real
absolutely.
Outdoors. You can do that as well, but it ain't near as good as the good stuff y'all got going over there with them stick
Oh,
bows. But
I'll never believe it.
we trying, we
Yeah,
trying.
I'll never believe it. It's
Yeah,
yeah, it's you, well, you know how it is. It's a give and take. I enjoy it. So far it's been worth it.
yeah,
It's been a lot of fun. So I'm hoping that it'll continue and hope you have
yeah.
a great fall. I'm the same way. July 4th is the kickoff for me. That is
Right,
like I don't know what it is about July 4th, but when this weekend gets here, this old boy starts thinking about nothing else but whitetails. And
right, right.
so
Yeah. Well, me and my wife and my family, we're headed out to Yellowstone next week. Our church gave us a 10-year
that's awesome.
anniversary gift to go to Yellowstone for vacation. So I'm
Yeah.
sure next week I'll be thinking about bears and
Yeah.
buffalo and all that kind of stuff. But soon as I get back, I'm
Yeah,
gonna be in the woods
absolutely.
trying to
Well,
make it
hey, and
happen. Yeah.
enjoy I'm sure, well-deserved break because there's nobody that has a tougher job than a pastor of a church. I'm a youth director at my church, and I just
Oh,
see
okay.
very little bit
Sweet.
of it. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
see a very little bit of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you guys need more respect, and
Well,
the being highly favored is I think it's a good thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
yeah.
That's good. See, that's a nugget I did not know that you was a youth minister at your church. So now that makes me like you
I've
even
been that
more.
way since I was 18. When I turned
Yeah.
18, it's like, well, here we go. And I was like, that gummit, I'm like I'm like 2 years older than a lot of these kids. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, it don't matter. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. It's
Yeah.
like, here we go. But
Sweet.
yeah.
That's awesome. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, and I'll let you go, and we'll touch base again.
Absolutely. Take it easy,
All
man.
right, bro. Thank you.